as we discuss the issues and challenges facing our nation. May our conversations be fruitful. May our conversations be productive. May our conversation be inspired by your love and compassion. We pray for Governor Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa and all the government parastatals and all leaders in Nigeria that they may be guided by you. As we commemorate June 12th, a significant milestone in our democracy journey, we ask that you continue to watch over our nation and guide us towards a brighter future. Bless your people. Bless Ondo State citizens. Continue to guide us. Inspire us with your Holy Spirit. May our deliberations be filled with your grace, and may our actions be driven by your love. We ask this through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever.
Thank you very much, Reverend Father Anselm Ologunwa. We appreciate you, sir. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I recognize all of us and I welcome us to year 2024 June 12th celebration in Ondo State with a lecture titled The State of Democracy in Nigeria, EU's Challenges and the Way Forward. And I present to us this day my governor, your governor, our governor, the governor of Ondo State, His Excellency Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa. Please let's put our hands together for Mr. Governor. We can do well. We also have in our midst this day the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olaide Owolabi Adelami Emenai. I recognize you, sir. You're welcome. May I also introduce to us the Speaker, Ondo State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Olamide Oladiji. Mr. Speaker, I recognize you, sir. We also have my Lord, the Chief Judge of Ondo State, ably represented by the Chief Registrar, Mrs. Yetunde Ajanaku. I recognize you, ma. You are welcome. May I introduce to us this day the Chairman of APC in Ondo State, Engineer Ade Adetimei. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. We also have on the top table the Secretary to the State Government, Honorable Tayo Oluwatuyi, known as Tukana. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. We also have with us the Chief of Staff to Mr. Governor, Prince Segun Omojua. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. May I also present the #1 civil servant in Ondo State, Mr. Bayo Phillips, the head of service. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. We also have on the top table the chairman of today's occasion, Professor Olu Aderohunmu. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. May I also introduce to us the guest speaker of the 2024 Democracy Symposium in Ondo State, Senator Surajudeen Ajibola Bashiru, the APC National Secretary. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. We also have in our midst His Excellency Ambassador Olushola Iji, the former ambassador to Togo. Your Excellency, I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. And on the top table, the Yorubas, we say, may I recognize our Baba, His Royal Majesty, Oba Ogunlade Ogutoyinbo Aladelusi, the Deji of Akure Kingdom, and the Chairman, Ondo State Council of Obas, the Chancellor, Federal University of Minna. BSO. We don't want to thank you very much because of our time. We done introduction earlier before now. I recognize all the members of the Ondo State Executive Council, members of Ondo State House of Assembly, heads of security agencies, chairman and members of statutory boards, commission, corporation, parastatals in Ondo State, permanent secretaries and accounting officers. I recognize us all. The chairman, Ondo State Council of Obas, Baba, I recognize you. I recognize all the royal fathers that have been recognized earlier on, members of the State Working Committee of APC, chairmen and members of other political parties here present, chairmen and members of pro-democracy groups, including civil society organizations, chairmen and officers of organized trade unions in Ondo State, student bodies and youth activists, distinguished guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, may I hand over the microphone to my colleague.
Your Excellency, it is a great day today that Your Excellency is leading us in Ondo State to witness another June 12 celebration, which all of us in this great country, the largest black country in the world, to agree that that has become a watershed in the history of our dear country. Your Excellency, today, very shortly, I will invite be handing over the microphone to an erudite scholar who will preside over the public lecture, who your friend and a friend of the state has come to deliver, because whoever is a friend to Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa is a friend to Ondo State. The APC National Secretary is a friend to Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa. Please, can we applaud him, please? And so, no time, I will be handing over the microphone to the chairman of this occasion, who is an erudite scholar, for his opening remarks. And Your Excellency, because it is a public lecture, we will be deferring to the chairman in the arrangement of our protocol henceforth. Somebody who's a professor of education management, and also very popular during and after the June 12th, because of the position he held in Ondo State as the former provost of Ondo State College of Education. Welcome once again, Professor Olushola Williams Aderohunmu, who is going to preside over this ceremony. I will give you the mic there. I will give you the mic there. Yes.
Aiyedatiwa, Aderohunmu, Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Ondo State, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Secretary to the State Government, all protocol observed. I consider it a privilege and a rare opportunity to be called upon to be chairman of this all-important occasion as we celebrate Democracy Day in honor of our forefathers who fought gallantly for what we are enjoying today. Democracy is a system of government by the whole population or all eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives. It is also a system of parliamentary democracy by the people. Democracy entails respect for basic human rights,
a multi-party political system paired with political tolerance, a democratic voting system, respect for the rule of law, democratic governance, and citizen participation. Those were the aspirations and hopes of Nigerians when they voted overwhelmingly across the nooks and corners of Nigeria in the freest, most transparent election ever held in this country in 1993. But alas, a few military officers and civilians, led by General Ibrahim Babangida, annulled that election, which would have deepened the democratic process in the country. That singular act truncated the efforts of the fathers of the nation who fought for independence, such as Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Anthony Nahoro, who moved the motion for independence, Bode Thomas, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dennis Osadebe, Amadou Bello, and others too numerous to mention here. The annulment created chaos, demonstrations, and strikes across the country, which led to MKO's detention and death. One cannot but mention a few of our leaders who led such protests, such as Pa Abraham Adesanya, Adekunle Ajashin, Alfred Riwani, Kudirat Abiola, Ruben Fashoranti, Ayo Adebanjo, Olufalaye, Professor Ambrose Anli, Lateef Jakande, Olabisi Onabanjo, Bola Ige, Bola Tinubu, Wole Soyinka, Bisi Akande, Olusegun Oshoba, Adebayo Adefarati, Sendi Arogbofa, Gani Fawemi, and others I cannot mention in this short address. 5 years ago, President Muhammad Buhari declared June 12th Democracy Day to honor Chief MKO Abiola, the winner of the 1993 presidential election, and honored him posthumously with the title of Grand Commander of the Federal Republic GCFR. We must congratulate President Bola Tinubu, who played a crucial role in the restoration of democracy and the role he played in NADECO. We must continue to pray for him and support his efforts in resolving burning issues related to restructuring, return to regional government, national minimum wage, the economy, etc., etc. In the spirit of good June 12th, Nigerians expect Tinubu to deliver good governance, transparency, and accountability, and he is focused and expected to be the best president Nigeria has ever had. At the same level, state level, most Ondo state indigents are happy with the transformative leadership of our amiable governor, who has brought within 5 months renewed hope and progress to the people of Ondo State. And by the special grace of God, who will win overwhelmingly in November this year. We have today in our midst a cerebral and highly profiled lawyer and legislator of enviable heights in the person of Senator Ajibola Bashiru, whom I knew many years ago through my leader and mentor, Chief Bisi Akande. I'm convinced that he will give justice and detailed analysis of the democratic process, having received tutelage from Chief Bisi Akande, the former governor of Osun State, first interim chairman of our party, the APC, and I wish all of you happy listening. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much, sir. Before we bring to the podium our guest lecturer for today's symposium, Your Excellencies, members of the top table, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I recognize the NLC chairman in Ondo State, Comrade Amoko. I recognize you, sir. You are welcome. Heads of local government administrations in Ondo State, please, can we wave our hands? Olga, I recognize you, sir, Zamaz. You are welcome. May I recognize the state chairman of NURTW, Comrade Ademola Odudu, Up National, Tire Roll. Thank you very much, sirs. You are welcome.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Adia State, the Sunshine State, Your Excellency, Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, here comes the moment we've been waiting for, the purpose of this year's celebration of Democracy Day. Your Excellency, just want to, in 2 minutes, present to this august occasion somebody who doesn't need introduction, the guest speaker of this Democracy Day in Ondo State, a lawyer and a politician. Your Excellency, this thoroughbred Nigerian is a former lecturer in Osun State University, Osogbo. Your Excellency, he was a two-time commissioner in Osun State. He was former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Osun State and served as Commissioner for Regional Integration and Special Duties in that state. Your Excellency, our guest speaker was the senator who represented the good people of Osun Central, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. During his tenure from 2019 to 2023, our guest lecturer served as the chairman, Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs. It is a great honor and privilege, Your Excellency, to present a guest lecturer, Senator Surajudeen Ajibola Bashiru, the National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, the party I regard as the largest political party in the history of our country. I invite him to the podium to give his lecture. Please let us applaud him once again.
Thank you. In the name of Almighty Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Aiyedatiwa, though INEC said we should not start campaigning until some few weeks from now, but when you invite a party man to come and talk in Moslugania, I'm the National Secretary of the APC. I know this is a state function. Those of you who don't belong to APC, don't be angry, but I must greet my fellow party men. APC, Your Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State, His Excellency Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, the Right Honorable Speaker, the Secretary to the State Army Government, representative of the CJ, Kabiyesi, His Excellency, DG of Akure, and through you, I greet the array of traditional rulers that are here. I also greet my brother and my friend, the chairman of the APC in Ondo State, Engineer Aderohunmu. The chairman of this occasion, Professor Aderohunmu, is somebody that the choice by the governor and the government of Ondo State cannot but be correct. Because I remember very well in 2010 to 2012, when our leaders, Baba Bisi Akande and Ajibola Tinubu, decided that we want to chase the conservatives out of Ondo State, I was shadowed with the responsibility of being personal assistant to Bisi Akande. I like the job of personal assistant. Even today, I'm still personal assistant to the president, even though I'm national secretary. Also personal assistant to Bisi Akande. I like the job more than any other job. Professor Aderohunmu was one of those first set of people, together with people like Ambassador Aiyedatiwa, that we started a nucleus for takeover of Ondo State. Our first attempt in 2012 through our late leader, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, was not successful. But by 2016, by the grace of God, we were able to get the state into the progressive fold. And by the grace of God, November 2024, lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa will continue in that struggle. So, Professor Aderohunmu, you are part of the history in the making, and I'm happy that you are here today as the chairman of the occasion. I've also seen my colleague members of the assembly at the state level in their numbers. I greet all of you. You are looking very resplendent, and I know that the House of Assembly is very cool, calm, because there's adequate progress reports by the Speaker of the State Assembly. And I hope you will not just be contesting that you want to be as big as the Speaker. It is natural endowment. It has something to do with lack of report of progress. Some of my colleagues from the National Secretariat and Osun are also here. I may recognize you. The topic of today's lecture, the state of democracy in Nigeria, issues, challenges, and the way forward, is a very germane topic, particularly when today we are celebrating 25 years of uninterrupted civilian rule in the country. In the historical context, before 1999, out of 29 years, I also see service chiefs. I greet all of you too. Before 1999, the Nigerian has only had the fortune of having civilian rule for 10 out of 29 years before 1999. So when you now have 25 years of uninterrupted civilian administration, you will know that we have actually obtained a milestone. It is not out of lack of tension or contradictions that would have led to the truncation of democratic governance, but democracy is getting root in Nigeria, and this topic will also advert our mind to why we need to ensure that we address these challenges and ensure that democracy firmly has roots in the country. It's an honor to have been invited as guest speaker for the event marking the 2024 Ondo State Democracy Day. As we gather to discuss the state of democracy in Nigeria, issues, challenges, and the way forward, it is essential to recognize both the progress made and the hurdles that lie ahead. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and a key player on the global stage, has made significant strides in democratization since 1999, when the military returned to the barracks. However, challenges like corruption, insecurity, electoral malpractices, and a lack of inclusivity continue to threaten the foundation of democratic governance. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you. I'm pleased to have this opportunity to share my perspective as a legal practitioner by profession, a politician by vocation. Vocation, I say, is not my job. And a former member of the National Assembly And currently, by the grace of Almighty God and the support of our leaders, the National Secretary of the Nigeria's governing party, the All Progressive Congress, on this pressing national issue. However, as a lawyer, I must give a caveat. The opinions expressed in this presentation are mine and mine as Ajibola Bashiru, and do not necessarily reflect the position of the National Working Committee of the APC or that of the APC. So I don't want journalists to say APC said this, APC said that. I'm speaking as an invitee of the government of Ondo State, invited by His Excellency Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, and I'm not speaking as APC or on behalf of National Working Committee of the APC. This is very important to make this legal disclaimer so that there will not be contradictions as to who is speaking. So you are seeing here Ajibola Bashiru and not NWC of APC or APC personified. As we navigate this discourse, engaging in constructive dialogue, fostering civic participation, and advocating for reforms that uphold good governance is crucial. Together, we can chart a path forward and strengthen democratic institutions, promote transparency and accountability, and ensure that the voices of all Nigerians are heard and represented. On pages 2 to 3 to page 4 of the paper, I look at the historical development of democratic governance in Nigeria from independence to the period when democracy was truncated in 1966, a unitary system, and then the eventual return to democratic governance in 1979, and then the truncation of that democratic process again in December 1983, up to the experimental democratic third republic of President Ibrahim Babangida, up to the establishment of what our leader Chief Bisa Akande called 5 fingers of a leprous hand by Abacha administration, and then up to eventual transition into the Fourth Republic that has succeeded in batting democratic governance for the last 25 years. Now, on page 5 of the paper, conceptual framework. After what has been described as the wave of democratization gained unprecedented momentum in the 70s, the basic internationally accepted benchmark for the administration of any country became the form of government that ensures the people's participation as the basis of the authority and legitimacy. The wave of globalization of democracy, which began in Southern Europe in the 70s, extended to Latin America in the 1980s, and culminated in the 1990s with the first democratic elections for national representative institutions taking place in 44 countries in Africa, 22 in Africa, Eastern Europe 19, and Asia 3. Was geared towards multi-party or liberal democracy, a classification often used to describe Western democratic political systems like Australia, United States, Britain, Canada, New Zealand, and other nations is what is called liberal democracy. In this context, we make a difference between liberal democracy and what I'm a socialist and Marxist call democratic centralism. The conclusion became inescapable that the acceptable government of any country is the only one in which the power is derived from the people. So the essence of democratic governance is that power must ultimately be derived from the people and must be for the benefit of the people. The transition from various forms of non-democratic regimes to democratic rule was not a simple replacement of draconian military juntas as it happened in Nigeria. The collapse of the oppressive apartheid system in South Africa, or the communist regimes in Eastern Europe, or some form of non-democratic systems that generally pervaded many developing countries of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, formerly referred to as the Third World. It involved substantial restructuring of the political system. That is, democracy involves substantial restructuring of the political system, liberalization and deregulation of the economy, and social and political reconstruction with new constitution and legislations that establish the structures, frameworks, and principles of government, and political and democratic institutions like the legislature, independent judiciary, and of course a media that is fearless and objective. The overall objective of restructuring the political system were targeted at changing the role of government, creating an enabling environment for private sector and civil society to flourish, and establishing an effective civil service by increasing its competence, efficiency, fairness, and quality of service. Every morning when you watch television, AIT, TVC, channels arise, and you see people coming to criticize government, to offer alternatives, you see the beauty of democracy. During the time of the military junta, when you try to exercise what we take for granted now, you may end up being taken up by Decree 2 or Decree 47 in the interest of public safety and security. The meaning of democracy and the entire concept of democracy was explored by the paper on pages 6 to 8 of the paper. In the context here, on page 7 of the paper, we state that the people propel power is transferred periodically through the instrumentality of elections. The United Nations General Assembly Resolution 59-201-2005 defines element of democracy as follows, and this is very crucial in the context of issues and challenges we want to raise in the paper. 1. Respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. Inter alia, freedom of association and peaceful assembly, freedom of expression and freedom of opinion. The right to participate in the conduct of public affairs directly or through freely chosen representatives, and to vote and to be elected at genuine periodic free elections by universal and equal suffrage and by secret ballot, guaranteeing the free expression of the will of the people. A pluralistic system of political parties and organizations. Today, we have about 19 political parties in Nigeria. Respect for the rule of law, the separation of powers and the independence of the judiciary, transparency and accountability in public administration, free, independent, and pluralistic media. I want to say that I dare not know how many countries has as many radio stations as we have in Nigeria here, which symbolize pluralistic of our media system. But I will later talk and offer criticism of the existing media practices and the way it has become antithetical to building sustainable democracy in Nigeria. In the context of Nigeria, I'm on page 9 of the paper. The Constitution established institutions. For instance, there is the executive, which is vested in the president, and also the governors are duplicating what the president would do at the national level. The legislative institutions is also established by the Constitution, and the provision for them is to uphold the principle of democracy, rule of law, and separation of power. The legislative branch at the national level in Nigeria is bicameral. You have the House of Representatives and, of course, the Senate. At the state level is unicameral. You have only the state assembly. I also describe the structure of the legislative assembly, and also discuss the structure of the judiciary on pages 9 running to page 11 of the paper. On page 11, we talk about the structure establishing a framework for democratic local government, guaranteeing a framework of democratically elected local government council by states for the establishment, structure, composition, finance, and function of the local government councils. Local governments are designed to bring governance closer to the people, directly addressing local needs and preferences. These local councils are responsible for many functions, including providing essential services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure development, primary education. Each local government councils comprise elected officials, including a chairman and council. I'm talking of the ideal. I will later talk about the reality later. The chairman acts as the chief executive officer of the local government, similar to the role governors and the president at their respective levels. Councillors, of course, represent various wards, and elections are supposed to be organized by the state independent electoral commission. The executive, legislative, judicial, and local government institutions established by the 1998 constitutions are the institutions that drive Nigeria's democratic governance. So I took the pain from page 7 to page 12 to establish the structure and the legal provisions for these institutions. As the head of the executive arm, the president is tasked with implementing laws. On the other hand, the legislative arm, which consists of the Senate and House of Representatives, of course, at the state level, the State House of Assembly, are responsible for making laws to ensure peace, order, and good government. And on the judicial level, the Supreme Court and other courts interpret law and administer justice. Section 4 of the paper describes Nigeria's democratic experience since 1999, and that runs from page 13 to page 12 to page 14 of the paper. And here I state on page 13 that the return to civilian rule in 1999 created a more stable political environment for economic reforms and policies, free from the shackles of economic sanctions and the near pariah status carried over from the Babangida and Abacha areas. Various initiatives by the Olusegun Obasanjo's presidency, Umaru Yar'Adua presidency, Goodluck Jonathan presidency, Muhammadu Buhari, and the current president Bola Ahmed Tinubu administrations aimed at reducing the heavy dependence on oil and promote private sector growth through diversification is with varying degree of success. Some are successful, some are not successful. Economic and industrial development has also progressed, attracting foreign investment in the telecom, agriculture, manufacturing, technology, oil and gas sectors. The government insistence on local content has triggered the growth of indigenous companies that led to job creation and poverty reduction. I was at a conference in Lagos last week when the former Minister for Housing and Power, Babatunde Raji-Fasola, explained the dynamics of how the infrastructural investment of our government has led to catalytic engagement of different people in terms of construction and in terms of ancillary industry. However, despite the government is our local corner, despite these achievements, yes, we must talk positively. We must also look at the other side. Despite these achievements, infrastructure deficits, very important. And of course, I witnessed infrastructure deficits on my way when I had to travel by road from Abuja to Akure, yesterday, because I couldn't make my flights. Despite these achievements, infrastructure deficits, inconsistent government fiscal and economic policies, corruption, and insecurity continue to hinder the full realization of Nigeria's financial and industrial potential. And as leaders of our society, we must address these deficiencies and these challenges. Since 1999, consolidation of democracy has faced numerous issues, and these include electoral malpractice and violence, corruption, insecurity, and ethnic and religious tensions that fuel political instabilities. These issues hinder the effective functioning of democratic institutions and erode public trust in the democratic system. Sustaining democracy in Nigeria will require more than organizing election to empower key independent democratic institutions. What I'm saying here is that democracy is not just about organizing election. We must empower key independent democratic institutions. Judiciary must be empowered. It must be made to be independent. It must be made to be efficient. And we're going to discuss some of the challenges we have in this regard. The electoral management bodies also need to be efficient. It must be transparent. It must be free and fair and well resourced. Political parties itself, we must look inward and strengthen democratic practices and then strengthen capacity development for those that will rule our country. Media, trade union, and civil society groups. Section 5 of my paper is devolved into the main fulcrum of this paper, which is challenges of and prospects of democratization in Nigeria. Page 14 of the paper. The transition from decades of military dictatorship to a democratic system has brought significant political, social, and economic changes. Despite the progress made in institutionalizing democratic governance, Nigeria faces numerous challenges, threatening the stability and effectiveness. These challenges ranging from electoral irregularities and corruption, and absence of good governance to security issues and economic challenges have profound implications for the country's political development and the quality of democratic governance. The persistence of these challenges raises critical questions about the resilience and sustainability of Nigeria's democracy. We cannot take for granted that we're in a democracy and democracy will continue. So we must continue to interrogate what are the factors that will undermine democracy and what are the factors we need to look into to ensure the resilience and sustainability of democracy in Nigeria. Electoral processes in Nigeria are often marred with vote buying and other corruptive influences, and violence undermines public trust in the electoral processes and political legitimacy. Corruption erodes institutional integrity and hampers socio-economic development. Security challenges, including terrorism, insurgency, and communal conflicts, disrupt governance, social cohesion, and hegemony. Additionally, economic challenges resulting in unemployment and poverty exacerbate social tensions, limiting democratic dividends. Despite these challenges, democracy remains the preferred form of government. This presentation will now delve into the current state of democracy in Nigeria, highlighting critical issues and challenges that impede its progress, while proposing potential pathways to a more robust democratic system. The first issue I consider is on management of election, page 15 of the paper. The philosophical basis of democracy rests on the solid premise that the people are the ultimate source of political legitimacy, thus encouraging popular participation in the government of their country without any unreasonable restrictions. The key distinguishing feature of democracy is therefore participation. The extent to which the citizens get involved in the governance process in their country by determining who represent them in government. The central component of democratic governance is election. It is the principal mechanism for exercising the people's sovereignty in a democracy. Through elections, citizens participate in the governance of their country, selecting those who represent them in governance. It is designed and organized in such a way as to define and limit power to promote legitimate government within a framework of justice and freedom. The distinguishing feature of democratic governance is that the electorate chooses leaders through regular, multi-party, and competitive elections, which are seen as the primary mechanisms for political representation. Conducting credible elections is critical to securing political legitimacy, democratic consolidation, and socio-economic stability of any country. If I used to say that there's a correlation between genuine democratic election and good government, if people who are elected know that they stand the chance of being kicked out of government if they don't deliver on the goods for the people, because there will be genuine credible election, there will be a pressure and a demand on them to deliver on the security and social welfare of the people, which are the primary purposes of government. But when you are sure that elections does not matter, you will get in whether the people consider you to be worthy or not, then there will be a drawback and setback for good government and economic advancement of the people. In a paper, a writer, Jesset, he said that the health of any democracy depends on the conduct of election, as every other is secondary. Now, what do we have in the case of Nigeria? Any government that emerges from floor elections always come with crisis of legitimacy. And this is one of the major challenges facing electoral management and democratic consolidation in Nigeria. Even the 2023 election were characterized by allegations of election malpractices that led to numerous election disputes. A substantial number of elective offices, 1,209 out of 1,280, that is 94.4% of electoral offices in Nigeria, were subject to disputes cutting across the presidency, governorship, Senate, House of Representatives, and State Assembly distributed across the federation. This is data. This is not just speaking out of the blues. Therefore, electoral malpractice, inefficiency, and violence have long plagued Nigeria's democratic process. I'm on page 17 of the paper, undermining public trust and the legitimacy of elected officials. Integrating technology that assists or automate the voting and counting processes into the electoral system presents a promising solution to address these challenges. Over the years, development in information and communication technology has revolutionized many traditional government and business models and operations. Many countries have transitioned to electronic voting, e-voting, a technology introduced to benefit electoral processes. I discuss about benefits of e-voting, and I conclude on page 19 that introducing technology also addresses numerous logistic challenges that afflict Nigeria elections. Using digital voter identification card can significantly improve the efficiency of the verification process at polling units, reducing delays, long queues, and drones can effectively discourage electoral violence, vote buying, falsification of results, and other electoral misconduct by offering the ability to monitor events and identify perpetrators, leading to the arrest and prosecution. These measures, I suggest, improve the efficiency and security of the voting process and contribute to the overall safety of the electoral management. Technology is instrumental in advancing inclusivity and accessibility as it offers alternative voting methods like online voting for citizens who cannot physically go to polling units. These include individuals with disabilities, the elderly, and Nigerians living in diaspora. Despite millions of Nigerians abroad interest in the country's economic development through contributing billions of dollars annually to the economy through remittances and other support, they can only vote if they return to the country so that they can vote. Through the implementation of technology, the voting processes become more inclusive and accessible, resulting in increased participation in elections, especially by diaspora. Overcoming the electoral hurdles lead us to good governance. Another major cornerstone of democracy, a mechanism for government institutions to operate efficiently, transparently in the best interest of the citizen. What I'm saying is that there's a need for us to go beyond physical processes. We need to leverage on the advantage of information and computer technology in advancing and reforming our electoral processes. The second challenge has to do with the challenges of good governance. Another problem in the consolidation of democracy in Nigeria has to do with good governance. On the one hand, every country has a governance structure that connotes administering nation's affairs and how state political power is exercised in managing its resources. It is the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. On the other hand, good governance implies properly managing a nation's affairs in a manner that is transparent, accountable, equitable, and responsive to people's needs. I make a distinction. You can have government, and every society has government. But the question is that, do you have good government? You only have good government when the government is transparent, when it's accountable, when it's equitable, and when it's responsible to people's need. According to Johnson, a commentator, it is the legitimate, accountable, and effective ways of obtaining and using public power and resources in pursuit of widely accepted social goals. That is the meaning of good governance. In this regard, I look at democracy on page 21, emphasizes good governance because governance is not just how power is obtained, but the processes by which authority is exercised in the management of a country's economic and social resources for development. Good governance is characterized by principles that focus on public sector management, accountability, the legal framework for development, and information and transparency, and sets it apart as a model of democratic governance. Then I look at the characteristics of good governance on page 21. 1. Accountability, transparency, rule of law, participation, and efficiency and effectiveness. Therefore, the essence of good governance is the purpose of political power by state institutions for social economic development that meet the needs of our society while making the best use of resources at their disposal. In other words, the focus on what promotes equity, participation, pluralism, transparency, and accountability, and the rule of law in a manner that makes the public institution effective and efficient Ode notes, Nigeria is still battling with the problem of good governance. And of course, we are battling with the problem of good governance because poverty, unemployment, homelessness, and lack of opportunity still pervades our society. And that is the truth that we must confront. Nobody cares but form of government alone. They also care whether that form of government impacts positively on their life, on the future of their children, on provision of education, health services, and ensuring there's infrastructure and amenities that make life to be meaningful. The two major challenges to democracy and good governance are pervasive corruption at all levels of government, which results in wastages and loss of revenue, misallocation of resources that hinders economic development and undermines the rule of law, and weak institutional government framework of many government institutions lacking inadequate capacity and resources to discharge functions and provide basic infrastructure and services for the citizen. What I say in the context of my discussion on lack of good governance, I zero in on two aspects. The problem of corruption, which I explore on page 22 to page 26 of the paper, and secondly, the problem of weak democratic institutions. And of course, I give evidence to show that corruption is still a major hindrance to development and good governance in Nigeria. And of course, weak democratic institution is also a major hindrance to governance in Nigeria. I will not bore you with the detail of that, since they are set up to page 28 of the paper. The third issue that I also explore has to do with judiciary, and I'm happy the chief registrar is here, and I hope you will not report me to the NJC. But it's good, I've spoken about our own as politicians. I've said we need to deliver on good governance. We need to provide school for our children. We need to provide for the elderly. We need to provide good roads and job for our youth. Now, the judiciary. The judiciary in every democracy is the branch of government responsible for interpreting laws and administering justice. In Nigeria, the judiciary is organized into a hierarchical system of courts, vested with judicial power to determine disputes between individuals, corporate entities, government, and make binding decisions. Of course, the judiciary in Nigeria has played a significant role in promoting democracy. When you go into cases in the Second Republic, cases like Aderohunmu and governor of Ondo State, places like AG Bend, AG Federation, and many other local classicals, judiciary have come up with landmark decisions that promote democracy, even on the issue of withholding of allocation by federal government and so on and so forth. Of course, judiciary, I'm talking of the positive side of what judiciary has done. Judiciary has also helped to ensure that the government acts within the bounds of the constitution through judicial review. The courts have the authority to review administrative actions, including the decisions made by the government agencies, to ensure that they are lawful and do not infringe the rights of individuals. Of course, part of the work of judiciary includes reviewing decisions made by the executive and legislative branches of government to ensure they align with the constitution and the laws of Nigeria. The Supreme Court declared redesigning policy of the Naira illegal and an abuse of executive power because it violated the provision of the 1999 Constitution and Central Bank of Nigeria. Remember before the 2023 election, they asked us to bring all our money. When we took them in, they kept the money under lock and key, and they refused to give us the new notes. They have said this was challenged by the court, and the court said this is not in line with the Constitution and the CBN. That's also a positive for judiciary. Of course, judiciary has also been instrumental in resolving electoral disputes and restoring credibility in the electoral process. But some people say that why should judiciary get involved in election matters? Election matter is also part of areas where we must have disputes. And of course, by the constitutional provision, section 6, the court are empowered to resolve all manner of disputes. Electoral dispute is just a type of dispute. So there's nothing wrong with the court ultimately being arbiter when there is dispute as to who won or whether a position had been vacant. However, on the other side, the judiciary faces numerous challenges that hinders its effectiveness and in turn pose significant problems for the country's democracy. According to a commentator, challenges and difficulties faced by the judiciary in Nigeria are not isolated incidents, but systemic issues that are deeply ingrained and interconnected. These issues include judicial corruption, intimidation of judges, manipulation, internal problems like overcrowding of courts and undue delays and inadequate facilities. I remember when I was writing my PhD thesis and the issue of delay in judicial process come, I did an empirical research that shows that the average gestation period for a case filed at the High Court of a state to be terminated at the Supreme Court is 16.5 years. That's at the average. Some, like cases like Owoni Boys Technical Service and Union Bank, they take like 21 years. So that means that if a child is born today and the case is filed today, when the child is celebrating 21-year anniversary, then the case will now be heard at the Supreme Court. As of today, Supreme Court are still giving us dates in 2028, 2029, and possibly 2030. Possibly, they will start giving cases in 2040 and 2050. And that reminds me of the books, The Bleak House by Charles Dickens. He calls this, there's a case there, Jandice and Jandice, where even the lawyers in that case could not remember the origin of what led to the dispute. Janda is it's Charles Dickens that says so, not Ajibola Bashiru. It's the book, The Bleak House. These obstacles hinder the ability of judiciary to administer justice effectively and efficiently, undermining public confidence in the legal system and weakening democratic governance. So if people decide to resort to self-help, it's because of the failure of the judicial process, and that creates insecurity and thereby undermine democracy. I know I can see Ogunwumi taking notes. You want to send notes to mommy of what I said? I will send a copy to her, don't worry. Monye, Obiagbaosko, and Obidegu commentators contended that the judicial system designed to operate efficiently is confronted with several obstacles, leading to many individuals being discouraged and hesitant to pursue legal recourse because of avoidable delays. Through a comparative analysis, the author demonstrated that the average duration of civil cases in Nigeria is significantly longer than in other jurisdictions like the UK, US, and India. Of course, I also talk about corruption in the judiciary, and I gave example of Justice Flora Asinge, who raised alarm that a senior lawyer was attempting to bribe her to influence the court decision. Of course, apart from corruption, I also note on page 31 that judiciary also suffer inadequate funding and resources, as well as misapplication of allocated resources, if not outright misappropriation. What I'm saying is that yes, resources are inadequate, but at the same time, even those that have been given to judiciary are misallocated and they are not properly accounted for. Because the question you have is that how do you hold the judiciary accountable even for the money that's been allocated to them? There was an Arabian poet when I was studying Arabic that says that if water is if something becomes dirty, you use water to wash it. But when water becomes dirty, what are you going to use to wash it? Is governor going to give a query to the CTA or the chief registrar as to the misapplication or misappropriation of the fund already allocated to judiciary? This is not to say that judiciary already has enough, but the one they have, are they properly applying it for the purpose for which they are? Many courts today lack necessary infrastructure, technology, judicial officers, and support personnel to function effectively. Judges and court staff often work in substandard conditions, affecting their productivity and work quality. And I know that the Attorney General of Ondo State is here to give necessary counsel and advice to the governor in this regard. Courts are often plagued by bureaucratic bottlenecks and understaffing, leading to delays in the administration of justice. Cases can drag on for years, denying timely justice to litigants and creating a backlog of unresolved cases. This inefficiency frustrates citizens and undermines confidence in the judiciary's ability to deliver fair and timely justice, a fundamental aspect of democratic governance. Now, another problem which is self-inflicted by the legal profession itself as State judiciary is explored on page 32 of the paper. The proliferation of cases driven by legal practitioners aspiring to become senior advocate of Nigeria also poses significant challenges to judiciary. To qualify for this prestigious title of senior advocate of Nigeria, lawyers must meet specific requirements. You must have 20 high court cases, about 5 or 6 court of appeal, and 3 at the Supreme Court. What is the implication of this? This requirement incentivizes the filing or pursuing numerous frivolous cases, often with the primary goal of meeting this criteria rather than addressing genuine legal needs. So now people just, do you have case? Do you have case? You go to case, whether the case is genuine or counterfeit. They want to just get so that I can have the necessary number. I submit here that this requirement of making appointment of SAN predicated on numerical number of cases incentivizes the filing and pursuing numerous cases, often with the primary goal of meeting this criteria rather than addressing genuine legal needs. Consequently, courts become inundated with high volume of cases, leading to congestion, delays, and the backlog of unresolved matters. I learned that no less than 150,000 cases were filed as pre-election matter before the 2023 general election. Most of them just because you know that it must be determined within 6 months and you're able to get cases to apply, as a senior advocate of Nigeria. The impact of this case proliferation extends to the quality of judicial decisions. With court overwhelmed by an excessive caseload, judges face pressure to expedite proceedings, which can compromise the thoroughness and fairness of their rulings. Additionally, the emphasis on quantity over quality in SAN applications may result in pursuing cases with marginal merits, diverting judicial attention from more substantive matters. The application process for SAN status should prioritize quality of cases rather than sheer number in terms of quantity. I go to page 33. The challenges faced by the Nigerian judiciary have profound implications for the country's democracy. A weak judiciary cannot effectively uphold the rule of law, protect citizens' rights, or ensure accountability for those in power. This undermines the legitimacy of the democratic process and the government's ability to govern. I also talk about the impact of corruption on the ability of judiciary to play its role in the democratic government. The fourth issue I explore is ineffective local government system. I know when I first mentioned what local government are supposed to do, my father, Deji of Akure, said those are the things for state matter. But the truth is that they are supposed to be for local government. But the reality, as you see, is that there's already failure of local government administration in Nigeria. Local government is commonly referred to as total of government. It was established to decentralize administrative power by transferring authority from the center and bringing governance closer to the people at the grassroots level. Local governments are created to address local needs and concerns more efficiently than centralized government structures. The 1999 Constitution provides the structure and what the local government are supposed to do. But then on page 35, I have this to say. Local government administration in Nigeria faces several significant challenges that hinder its effectiveness. One of the primary issues is inadequate funding. Do they even have funding again? Some have negative allocation because of the structure that they have in local government. A local government, for instance, in Akure North, which is a cosmopolitan area, will be overburdened by a number of primary school teachers. And of course, all of us who are elite, we want our wives, our children, and our brother to work in the local government in Akure North. So at the end of the day, by the time they settle the bills, there will be nothing to service the local government. Again, they must have, as I said, the same structure of local government in Ifedore. I'm not saying Ifedore is not a big place, so and Akure North, for instance, or our local governments and Oshe, must they have the same structure of local governments? So the question of uniformity and bureaucracy of local government itself is a challenge to even the funding and adequate of resources to be free for servicing the welfare and amenities for the people. So I say here that local government often rely heavily on allocations from the federal government, which are frequently insufficient and ultimately diverted by state governments. Our governor, please don't divert. I know you are not doing so. Don't be tempted to divert state local government funding so that there can be genuine development at the grassroots level. And of course, IGR. I doubt whether any local government makes as much as 10-15 million every month, whereas they have bureaucracy that goes into about 40-50 million. So technically, the local government administration, they are solvent, because if the principle of business is going to be used, that means that you are not even having resources to service your bureaucracy. So you are supposed to be in comatose. Additionally, local governments are plagued by corruption and mismanagement. When we were in Lagos, we used to call local government council. Council does not mean COUNCIL. It means CANCEL, because any money that gets to the council becomes council. That is part of issue of corruption and mismanagement. Funds meant for developmental projects are often diverted. There's lack of accountability mechanisms to ensure proper utilization of resources. This financial and administrative inefficiency severely constrains the ability of local government to function optimally. Another critical challenge is the lack of autonomy of local government. But here, there is a debate as to whether the local government should even be in the constitution itself. When you look at the 1999 constitution, it is a most confusing document as far as local government administration is concerned. In one breath, you say you guarantee democratic local government under a law made by the states. At the same time, you are also creating a first schedule giving responsibility to the local government. You are creating state and local government joint account of the local government. So we need to address this constitutional ambivalence as to the status of local government. Of course, for some of us who are core federalists, we believe that the federal government has no business with local government. Local government, people should be allowed to establish the form of administrative structure they want that is suitable for their local communities. It could be counties, it could be local mayoralty, and so on and so forth. But the idea of taking allocations, which was brought by military intervention, has created a problem whereby the size of resources available to you as a state will depend on the number of local government ascribed to you. Whether those local governments were just created out of land without any form of resources and without form of responsibility. But as it were, based on the existing structure that we have in place, we make a case that there's a need to look at the issue of local government autonomy and the structure of the local government. Another problem is also has to do with local government elections. And this is where all political parties, including my own, were culprits. When local government elections was done in Oyo State, somebody called me, a very big uncle of mine, a former minister, that the governor just went and did not do any election and wrote results. I said, as an honest person, not as a politician, that same day, my state, my party also did local government election in Gombe State, and all the seat on offer was taken by my political party. So maybe it's a case of tit for tat. But the truth is that if local government still exists under our constitution, we must genuinely consider to have a genuine democratic election at local government. And that is why the action filed by the federal government and Supreme Court is commendable. I want to publicly urge the Attorney General of the state to advise my brother, my very good Egbo, the governor, not to oppose that litigation. It is for progress of the people. That is public blackmail. Yes. Now, repositioning local government, page 37 of the paper, in Nigeria requires a comprehensive approach that addresses the structural, financial, and governance challenges that have hindered its effectiveness. One key argument is the need for constitutional reforms to enhance the autonomy and independence of local government. This includes amending the constitution to guarantee financial autonomy for local government, ensuring they have a stable and adequate revenue base independent of state governments. Additionally, there should be provision to limit state government interference in local government affairs, allowing local government to function as autonomous entities with the power to make decisions that best serve their communities. Also, the apparent use of uniform bureaucratic and administrative structure for all local government without advantage to size and availability of resources does not allow for efficient utilization of resources. I've explored this. When a small community, we have the same department of finance, admin, human resource, and all the paraphernalia of office. And the same local government that cannot even afford the staffing of those departments. Another argument is the importance of strengthening local government capacity through training and capacity building program for elected officials and civil servants. In this regard, we want local government to be efficient. The bureaucrats, do we train them? Then the politicians, we are more guilty here. We put our errand boys to govern local government because we don't know the significance and impact of local government. A local government is supposed to be the governor of a particular people of no less than 300, 500,000 people. So most people who are competent, who are able to manage their affairs. When you put somebody who has not managed even his own affair in a way to manage affairs of the people, what you find is what we are presently now, and that's failure of administration and government. And the pressure on the state government is also because there have been failure of the local government administration. If local government are able to perform their work, most people that come to Alagbaka will stay in their respective local government to ask for dividends of democracy. I conclude on this to say that repositioning local government in Nigeria requires commitment to transparency, accountability, and good governance. There should be mechanism to ensure local government funds are used judiciously and local officials are held accountable for their actions. This includes strengthening local government audit processes and empowering local government oversight bodies to investigate and sanction cases of corruption and maladministration. Additionally, there should be effort to enhance citizen participation in local governance, ensuring that communities have a voice in decision-making processes that affect them. This will help to build trust between local government and their constituents and foster a culture of accountability and transparency in local governance. I come to the fifth issue, which is the last issue, the media and the democratic governance in Nigeria. I hope you will not abuse me when I finish media too. In a democracy, now talking about the positive side, the media is often called the fourth estate of the realm, signifying its crucial role in complementing the traditional branches of government, that is the executive, legislative, and judiciary. The media's primary function is to inform the public by providing accurate, timely, and relevant information. This dissemination of information allows citizens to make informed decisions, especially during elections, and to engage in meaningful public discourse on issues affecting their lives and communities. The media also serves as a watchdog role, holding those in power accountable for their actions. By investigating, reporting on government activities, policies, and misconduct, journalists can uncover corruption, expose abuses of power, and bring attention to issues that might otherwise be ignored. This scrutiny helps to ensure that public officials act in the best interest of their constituents, fostering transparency and accountability in governance. Furthermore, the media provides a platform for diverse forces and opinions, promoting a healthy democratic debate and helping to prevent the monopolization of information by any single entity or group. I remember when we were struggling in those states that time, they had to cut the road to Adaba FM so that we will not be able to have access to the place to come and place our jingle. Prof. Aderohunmu, Prof, Chairman, I said, you remember when the road to Adaba was cut off by one of our former governors because we have opportunity of using the media to also state our own opinion. But our own government will not do that. If you like, set up as many radio stations as possible. You are allowed to facilitate your idea. However, despite the essential role in national development and Nigeria's democracy, the media faces significant criticism. One primary concern is the issue of media bias and lack of objectivity. Media in Nigeria, they are biased and they lack objectivity. I hope that will make headline. Nigeria media bias and lack of it will never make headline because they're already biased even against what I'm saying. Many media outlets in Nigeria are often perceived as being influenced by political interests of wealthy or wealthy patrons, leading to partisan reporting. Bias undermines the credibility of the media and erodes public trust. When media organizations prioritize their agendas or political interests over impartial journalism, the result is often skewed news coverage that fail to provide the public with a balanced and accurate reportage. A worrying dimension is the practice of media organizations bestowing awards to us politicians. A significant point of contention is that these awards often lack merit. Any manner of politician will be given award. Best governor of the year, governor in human resources, governor in even somebody who has not paid salary of his worker will be given best governor in human resources. The other day, one governor was given resources and he was tweaking at the place where they gave him resources. I won't mention, maybe it's governor of my state, I don't know. A significant point of contention. It shows serious issues. Somebody will go and if you want to dance, you can just apply to be dancing. A serious point of contention is that these awards often lack merit and are perceived as sycophancy or pandering to political interests, if not financial inducements. The practice promotes a culture of mediocrity and impunity in governance, where recognition is not based on genuine achievement or contributions. And most of the time, those media awards, with respect, and I say it, are not based on achievement or on a track record, but on political connections and financial inducements. Conferring honors to politicians who have not delivered on their mandates or have been involved in corrupt practices compromising the integrity or credibility of the media. It undermines his role as the watchdog of society. In fact, you'll be confusing the electorate. If you give somebody who the only thing he has done is to be demolishing roads without replacing it, and then you give him an award for him to be marrying, then you are confusing the electorate. There's a performing governor. So that is also confusion and undermine democratic governance. Another severe criticism of the media, don't be angry, is sensationalism and the spread of fake news. In the competitive mediascape, there's a tendency to prioritize sensational stories that attract viewership to increase revenue. Last week, we were doing training for e-registration, and I said we're embarking on e-registration because we want to have a credible register for our party, because we believe that the register we had before does not have the necessary credibility. The headline: Senator Bashiru admitted APC lie on voter registration. That's the only thing they can see of all the things I said in that regard. Sensationalism. Sensational stories, yes, it attracts readership, but it undermines the credibility and integrity of the media organization. This focus on sensationalism often comes at the expense of thorough and responsible journalism, disseminating half-truths and outright falsehoods. The rise of social media has exacerbated the issue of fake news, as unverified information spreads rapidly online, contribute to public misinformation, and sometimes inciting social unrest. There's even a dangerous dimension. Credible mainstream organization, they will not go and look for news. They will go on Twitter and pick comments that people are making on Twitter and said Nigerians lambast Ajibola Bashiru on Twitter. So is Twitter a source of aggregating opinion of Nigerians? Then they go on social media to pick a story. Lucky Aiyedatiwa did this thing. That is not media. Media is about looking for credible sources. And we know that open source is social media. So when major news organizations are now making headline from what they crop up from social media, it shows that the Nigerian media needs a soul searching and to check itself. Don't just criticize politicians too. This is also a politician now criticizing the media. Of course, I have a very thick skin, so criticize me, we'll take it. The media in Nigeria must become more engaging to promote good governance. We challenge you, be more engaging to promote good governance and support democracy effectively. There is nowhere in the world that democracy does not have challenge, but Nigerian media are the one to quickly campaign for undermining democracy. But at the same time, the media will be the first target of military rule whenever and if it ever comes. Decree 2 is still fresh in our memory. By promoting accurate and comprehensive information, the media empowers citizens to make informed decisions and actively participate in democratic processes. Engaging media fosters public discourse and ensures diverse voices are heard, which is crucial in a pluralistic society. Additionally, vigilant and independent media can hold those in power accountable. Please hold us accountable, exposing corruption and inefficiencies. To achieve these goals, the media must uphold high standards of integrity. Don't go and cross story from social media. Look for credible sources. Look for a practical way of holding power responsible. Resist censorship and leverage digital platform to reach a broader audience, thus strengthening Nigeria's democratic institution and fostering a more transparent, accountable governance system in Nigeria. My conclusion: Nigeria's democracy has faced numerous challenges since return to civilian rule in 1999. We have the problem of third-term agenda. We were able to kill it. We have the problem of a president that could not transmit power. Doctrine of necessity was able to address that problem, and yet we remain resilient. And among critical issues that we have looked at is electoral integrity, judicial efficiency, good governance, corruption, ineffective local government administration, and national weaknesses. Election reforms have aimed at improving transparency and reducing malpractices. Yes, challenges like vote buying and electoral violence persist. Judicial reform are focused on enhancing the independence and efficiency of judiciary to better handle disputes and uphold the rule of law. However, the slow pace of reforms and political interference continue to hinder substantial progress. Good governance remain elusive due to systemic corruption and weak institutional framework. Anti-corruption efforts have seen more success, but they are often undermined by lack of political will and accountability. Establishing stronger democratic institutions, including electoral commissions and anti-corruption agencies, critical for sustainable development and political stability. To address these challenges, comprehensive reforms are necessary. Electoral reforms with the introduction of technology must be deepened to ensure credible and violence-free elections, with strict enforcement of electoral laws and penalties for violations. Judicial reforms should focus on ensuring the judiciary's independence and expediting the resolution of disputes. Good governance can be promoted through transparent, accountable, purposeful leadership and robust anti-corruption measures. Local government reforms should enhance financial autonomy, capacity building, transparency, and community participation to improve service delivery. Strengthening democratic institutions, responsible resource allocation, and protection from political interference. These reforms can lead to more effective and efficient democratic processes and governance and foster public trust, resulting in better infrastructure, social services, and quality of life for citizens, and Nigeria can achieve sustainable development. I thank you for listening, and God bless you. God bless Osun State. Thank you very much.
Can we keep the clap higher and greater and larger than that, please? Thank you so much, Senator Surajudeen Abiola Bashiru. The chairman of this occasion will now take over now.
Another round of applause for our guest speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, you all agree with me that this has been an inaugural lecture delivered by a man of high mental magnitude, an achievement-driven senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a distinguished Commissioner, Attorney General of the State of Osun, and now the Secretary General of our great party, the APC. For those of us who are not learned, it has been very, very difficult to cope with the lecture delivered by our guest lecturer. But I will briefly give a synopsis of what he has said. I may not be able to give in detail into its nitty-gritty, but when we get home, or when I get home, I will sit down and take a second look at that paper. The Speaker, the Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, lawyer and Secretary of the National Working Committee, started by stating that the opinions expressed in his presentation were his and do not represent or reflect the position of the National Working Committee of APC. The Speaker delved into the contents of the paper by stating people's participation in governance construction through election and involvement in the decision-making process. He stated that Nigeria's experience with democracy began in the colonial era with limited self-governance granted by the British colonial administration. Through agitations, independence was achieved in 1960, followed by a republican status in 1963 with a parliamentary system of democracy. The coup d'etat of Unzegu led to the Civil War, and by 1979, the military handed power over to civilians. The Speaker talked about the 1983 coup brought about by Babangida to power, followed by Abacha's true shenanigan to Obasanjo. The Speaker gave details of Obasanjo's regime. He gave the meaning of democracy, which is grounded in popular sovereignty with power in the citizenry exercised through voting, and that the people propelled power through the instrumentality of elections. He gave UN General Assembly 5920/205 reforms and definition. He defines elements of democracy as respect for human rights and with freedom, right to participate in the conduct of public affairs, a pluralistic system of political participation, respect for the rule of law, separation of powers, transparency and accountability, free, independent, and pluralistic media. He further talked about the democratic experience since 1999. The Speaker talked extensively about the different forms of voting, e-voting, and others. He talked about the challenge of good governance, corruption at all levels, including the judiciary, and that the consequences of corruption are far-reaching, including inefficiency, ineffectiveness, and lack of accountability, weak democratic institutions. He described the judiciary in any democracy as the branch of government responsible for laws, administering justice, and that it has helped to play a significant role in promoting democracy. However, he opined that the judiciary has faced challenges that hinder effectiveness and in turn pose significant problems for the country. Some of the problems of the judiciary he enumerated include inadequate funding and resources, as well as misapplication of allocated resources. Other problems relate to ineffective local governments, which is meant to decentralize power from the center. The Speaker talked about the media. In any democracy, and that it has a role to play, and is often referred to as the fourth estate of the realm, according to the speaker. But that despite its essential role in national development, the media faces significant criticism, e.g. media bias and lack of objectivity. Issues related to media practice include spreading of fake news, which is very rampant in this country today. To address these challenges facing the media, the speaker recommends comprehensive reforms, electoral reforms, and introduction of technology. The speaker recommends good governance, promotion through transparent, accountable, purposeful leadership, and robust and anti-corruption measures. He believes local government reforms will enhance financial autonomy, capacity building, transparency, and community participation to improve service delivery. This is a synopsis of the guest speaker's lecture. We don't want to waste your time. We will entertain just 5 questions. The speaker talked about the 3 arms of government. So we expect 1 question from the judiciary, 1 from the executive arm, and 1 from the legislative. Then, of course, following Beijing 2003, the women here will support me that you have to allow the women to talk. So we'll allow 1 party member, a woman, to talk, and of course, 1 party leader to talk from the public. Thank you. Shall we start by asking the questions? No. Okay, I'm sorry, I understand our Excellency is traveling, so we just take 2 to 3, maximum of 3. 1 from the judiciary, 1 from the executive, and 1 from the legislative. Questions, please. The commissioners are here. Okay, I hand over to the MC. Okay.
Your Excellency, the Governor of Ondo State, and all distinguished leaders at the top table. My question is to the guest lecturer. Sir, the social media has been awash with the federal government or the APC-led government's return to regionalism. Okay, and my question is, if we assume that the federal government agrees to go ahead with physical federalism, is it not expedient for the APC-led government to proceed systematically by first ensuring that states are able to gradually plan self-sufficiency by owning and controlling of their own resources in their states, in their respective states? That's my question. Thank you.
Just 2 more, please. Not get pressed.
Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, permit me to start out all other existing protocol. Your Excellency, I want to say this one. You are our governor, and you are workers' governor. As a Nogi president of Ondo State, sir, I know what is going on in Ondo State. We are the first state to implement NFLU principle in Nigeria. That is, local government allocation will get to each local government. I'm aware, because I'm a statutory member of JAC in Ondo State. Our governor does not touch our money. He does not touch. I'm not a politician. I'm a union leader. I'm both to say it that our governor does not touch our money. I want to plead to Your Excellency, sir. Since you don't touch our money, I want to plead, I want to implore you, sir.
to please support local government autonomy. Thank you.
All right.
Well, two questions, and our lecturer will will answer those questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Social media is social media. There's nothing we can do about it. We'll continue to there's always a tension when it comes to freedom of expression. You want to regulate freedom of expression, or you want to restrict freedom of expression. It's always better to let idea to flourish. But you now do enlightenment for the public to know what source they want to go for credible information. And that's why I cancel in my paper that mainstream organization, media organization, should not go to social media to come and put on their headline what the source from social media. Let social media be social media. But when mainstream organization is now going to pick information on social media and put it in mainstream media, you are giving legitimacy for what ordinarily is social. Then on the issue of fiscal federalism, I will tell you that, you see, Nigeria, we like sloganeering. In the past Ninth Assembly that I was part of, there have been some fundamental change in the Constitution of Nigeria that state governments have capability to utilize for them to be able to have fiscal federalism. It's not just about when I had someone say, Asiwaju, come and do restructuring. Even the one that has been done before Asiwaju came, what have we done about it? One, correctional system. Before, it was exclusive legislation matter. Now it's in states. States can decide to now have its own correctional system. Electricity, generation, distribution, and everything, we have also brought it down. Railway system has also now been brought to the concurrent legislative list. So some of these legislative items are already going down. Then there are some facilities in the constitution that states, for their reason, they don't make use of it. I'll give you an example. Companies limited by limited liability company, they are formed in Abuja. Company income tax is 30%. Why is our state government still giving their contracts to people who trade under company that are limited? Why don't you give your contract to limited partnership? And I think that the general will properly advise Mr. Governor. I'm not advisor of Mr. Governor, and he has not paid me consultancy fee. There are so many things under the law that a state government can use to be able to reduce its exposure to Abuja and ensure its own independence. Personal income tax belongs to is collected by the state. So it means that if His Excellency did a project of 30 billion, the profits, 30% of that profit, if he gives it to a limited liability company, will go to Abuja. So if you insist that anybody that wants to do contract with me must register as a limited partnership under my own law, and I give them contract to it, I will collect my own tax and I will use it for my own development. So there are so many ingenuity. But if you are what you have said there, maybe I will submit a proposal for legal consultancy to His Excellency so that we will be able to use our knowledge to facilitate those beneficial provisions that can help the state to raise revenue. There are so many revenues that are in the law that we are not just taking a close look into it. And strengthen local government. Now get to, I think I like the man that spoke and commend the governor for not touching the money of local governments. And I think it's commendable, because what has brought local administration to comatose is because of that incident of taking and macheting the local government administration. The problem of insecurity we have in Nigeria, if researchers go and look to it, many places where they have this problem of insecurity, they have stopped having local government administration for the past 20 to 30 years. They will just, when allocation comes, whatever remains that they send to them, they share it and they disappear. Because the local government is the one that people can go there. Growing up in the large Oyo State, I grew up in Osogbo. My father does not have to go to Ibadan. Ibadan is too far. We only go to Ojaopa if you want to interface. Even local politicians, they can't go to Ibadan. If you want to go to Ibadan, you must be of a caliber of somebody who can see Ajibola or Chibiza Kode. But today now, everybody will now go to Alagbaka and say, that governor is very arrogant. He does not even see me. Somebody who is supposed to be talking to councillor want to talk to government. So there's merit in having local government structure. But on local government autonomy, ideologically, and I say this for the record, I don't believe federal government has any business with local government. Each state should not be given allocation of what is entitled to them in the federation accounts, as was done under the 1960 and 1963 Constitution. Let each state now determine what structure of local government or community administration it wants to have, and then fund it and generate money to be able to do so. But what has happened is that the military has used insertion of local government in the Constitution to create so many local government in a skewed manner that is skewed against some part of the country, so that the size, ultimate size of what you get from federal allocation now depend on the number of your local governments. So the revolution should be, let us do away with constitutional recognition of local governments. Let every state have its own share of allocation, then ensure that it has its own autonomous local or community or town administration system that it wants to do. This will enable administration to be close to the people. Therefore, outdoor, you also need to do advocacy that the structure of local governments that we have in Nigeria does not have to be uniform. Ikoyi, that gets almost about 1 billion in a day, and we respect Ifedayo in my constituency, we have the same structure of local governments. How does that become very viable? So the bureaucracy of local government is also another thing that we need to attend. All said and done, if we have only 2 questions, and my friend Poroye did not ask me any question, I think I've done very justice to the matter. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. At this point, we want to appreciate the chairman of this occasion, Professor Olu Aderohunmu. Thank you so much, sir. And we also appreciate the guest speaker, Senator Ajibola Bashiru. Thank you so much, sir. At this point, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to invite for just 5 minutes as a teaser the cultural tour to entertain on this day. Thank you.
Lọ́ba tó mú dé nínú mọ́jú bàrà. Arúgbó ọjọ́ mo ṣe ń wò. Àwòrò ṣòro ọdúnjọ́ ọdún mọ́jọ́. Ọdún mọ́jọ́. Àti dájọ́ ọjọ́ pé. Àti dóṣù oṣù oko. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run kọjá ròní. Gbogbo ọba láyé. Mo mọ̀ tí lọ́kọ̀ọ̀kan. Gbogbo ọba láyé mo kí. Mẹ́mẹ́ mo dà fojú rírẹ́ o. Ọdún mọ́jọ́. Ṣòro adójọ́. Àwòrò ṣòro adójọ́. Ọdún mọ́jọ́. Àwòrò ṣòro adójọ́.
tí wọ́n òṣèrò adójára wọ́n kú iṣẹ́ òṣèrò adójára wọ́n kú iṣẹ́ ribiribi àwòrò ṣòro stéètì pàtàkì òṣòro òṣòro adójára ohun tó pè ní democracy ṣòro là ń ṣe yìí Ondo sí àwòrò ṣòro tẹ̀síwájú àwòrò ṣòro adójára tí wọ́n fẹ́ dé ìwé pátápátá Kò ṣiṣẹ́ àtẹ̀yí kò ṣiṣẹ́ òru. Wọ́n ti fi kékeré ṣe ó dára bọ́ àgbẹ̀ ṣòro. Wọ́n ṣiṣẹ́ lóòrò state ṣòro. Iná ọ̀nà ẹgbẹ́ ṣòro. Àgbẹ̀dẹ̀ tí ṣe lórí ní bọ̀ ṣe ṣòro. Àjọjà ọ̀ṣọ́jọ́ òrò ṣòro. Ó tán ọ̀dọ́ ọdẹ ṣòro. Ṣé kìí ṣòro àjọjì? Ṣé dọ̀tí òrò ṣòro àjọjà? We on the path, Shoro, Shoro, I don't see my focus on more, Shoro, and I believe my best friend, Shoro, Shoro, why don't you know? I don't know, Shoro, why don't you know? Oh my God, Shoro, why don't you know? Senator, I will Shoro, I don't know. Bashiru, àwọn ìdàgbàsókè náà ṣe ní ṣọ̀ṣọ̀ṣe mi wẹ̀lẹ̀wẹ̀lẹ̀ ẹ̀yẹ tí ṣe mí o àkẹ́yẹ tí ṣe mí o ògbákejì gómìnà mi ló ṣe ìyàwó mẹ̀ṣẹ́nu bá mi ọ̀dọ́dún yìí kí sọ dédèrò ọ̀dọ́dún dédèrò túrẹ́ ti fọlọ́pàá jẹ́ wọ́n bẹ́ pọ̀ ọ̀hún abẹ́rẹ́ gómìnà rẹ̀ ń ṣe dáadáa. Sálárì òṣìṣẹ́ ń lọ déédéé. Ọ̀dà aṣọ́pá létí fùfẹ̀tì. Ojúmọ̀ òrodo. Ojúmọ̀ òrodo. Aiyedatiwa ṣe. Èmèsúrú gbé nílùú yìí kọjá. Bá a bá ṣe ní lónìí ọgbẹ́ làbá jù. Ó ti ṣe mí o. Ulé yá ẹ̀dẹ̀ yá ọmọ owó ìrẹ̀lẹ̀. Ulé mọ̀ yá ọmọ lóye o. Ulé mọ̀ yá ọmọ lóye o.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much. The Ondo State award-winning cultural troupe. God bless you. You all will be here next year if the Lord tarries in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our time is fast spent. Thank you very much. Fiwashaye guests, please, can we have you just for 1 minute, quickly? Orí adé ọba mi. Lọ́kì orí mi sàn. Orí olóyè. Orí adé ti ẹni. Fún tábà ṣe tí ẹ máa dùgbọ́. Ẹ dúpẹ́. Lọ́kì orí mi sàn. Ọmọ bàmí Aiyedatiwa. Wọ́n lọmọ wọn nílàjẹ. Ńlájẹ òmù o. Agbénú ọkọ̀ ẹ̀gbà. Ọmọ Áfíríkà kùlẹ̀kùlẹ̀ jókòó rí màmá. Orí olóyè. Orí adé ti ẹni. Orí tábà ṣe tí ẹ máa dùgbọ́. Ẹ dúpẹ́. Ẹ wá yípa, ẹ wá yíra, ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ẹ mọ̀. Ẹ wá yípa, ẹ wá yíra, ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ẹ mọ̀. Ẹ wá yípa, ẹ wá yíra, ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ẹ mọ̀. Ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ẹ pẹ́ mi ò ọmọ yẹrẹ yẹrẹ ọmọ yẹrẹ ọmọ wá sáyé lọ́gọ̀dẹ. Allow me come here. Allow me come here. Allow me come here. Allow me come here. I don't want to die. Thank you very much. Tiwashai Girls Grammar School. We appreciate you, beautiful ladies. God bless you in Jesus' name. Ẹ bá mi fún wọn ní àtẹ́wọ́ o. Please, let's appreciate these young ladies.
All right, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Tiwa, wọ́n sọ fìkà. Tiwa ló lótú ṣe adébíyàsíwájú ọ̀rọ̀ àti ọ̀rọ̀ rárá tàbí lótú ṣe. Dàyí o, ọmọdé ọ̀gbẹ́dá látàrí
All right, thank you, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ẹ ṣé o, ẹ ṣé o, ẹ ṣé o, ẹ ṣé o. Thank you. The governor enjoyed himself. We enjoyed ourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
ẹ ṣé lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀yin èèyàn wa a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín o ojú wa máa rọ́dún ó dà tiwa ẹ dá mi lóhùn ni mo ló dà tiwa. Thank you, Ondo State. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, may I invite your governor, my governor, our governor, the governor of Ondo State, His Excellency, Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, for his address. So let's give Mr. Governor a standing ovation. Ọ̀nà lọ́rùn tí ẹ̀yìn èjú bá jà. Ọ̀nà lọ́rùn bá ti ṣe tiẹ̀ èjú bá jà o.
Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Let me acknowledge the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olaide Wolabi Adelami MNI, the Speaker, Ondo State House of Assembly, indeed the 10th Assembly, Right Honorable Olaide Oladiji, aka Landmark. We also acknowledge the Chief Judge of Ondo State, my Lord, Honorable Justice Aiyedatiwa Olusegun Odushola, who is here represented by the Chief Registrar, Mrs. Yetunde Ajanaku. I would also like to acknowledge, even though he's here in his own capacity as distinguished Senator Surajudeen Bashiru, but is also the Secretary of the largest party in Africa, APC. Senator Surajudeen Abiola Bashiru, you are welcome. I'm recognizing at this time as the National Secretary. Later, I will greet you as guest speaker. You did that by yourself by separating yourself from that office into a speaker so that whatever you say here will not be held against you or our party. You are most welcome. Let me acknowledge the chairman of our party, Ondo State Chapter, Engineer Aiyedatiwa. The secretary to the state government, Honorable Tayo Oluwatoyi, I recognize you. The chief of staff to Mr. Governor Prince Segun Omojua, I recognize you. The head of service, Prince Bayo Phillips, you also recognize. Let me most honorably recognize the chairman of this occasion, an erudite scholar, educationist, and also a politician, Professor Aderohunmu. Thank you for coming. May I also recognize the chairman Ondo State Council of Obas, the royal host of this event, the Deji of Akure, His Royal Majesty Oba Ogunlade Alade Toyinbo Alade Lucy, the Odudu II. I greet you, sir. Kábíyèsí o. I also recognize a one-time ambassador of Nigeria to the Republic of Togo, His Excellency Ambassador Lushola Eji, the Araba of Apoi land. I recognize you, sir. Let me also recognize members of the State Executive Council that are here, the commissioners and special advisors. I recognize all of you. Thank you for coming in your large numbers. Let me use the Commissioner for Agric and Forestry, Ajibola Atariba, as a point of contact to all of you. Let me also acknowledge members of this Ondo State House of Assembly that are here. I'll use the majority leader, Honorable Oluwole Ogunmola Suyi, as a point of contact to all of you. You are here in your large numbers. Thank you for coming. I want to also acknowledge all our traditional rulers that are here. I could see Kabisi in no particular order. The Abodi of Ikale land, I recognize you, sir. Kabisi, the Olubaka of Okaland, Kabisi, Olumoro of Imoru, the Orunja of Odigbo, Kabisi, the Olowo of Owo. Kabisi, I recognize all of you. Our religious leaders are also represented. Let me acknowledge the chairman of Christian Association of Nigeria Ondo State Chapter, Reverend Father Anselm Ologunwa. Thank you for coming. And also Alhaji Dr. Sheikh Abdul Karim Yayi Akurede, the Chief Imam of Akure. I greet you, sir. You are all welcome. Let me also recognize all the service chiefs that are here. The Commissioner of Police, the Military Correctional Center, the Civil Defense, the Road Safety Corps, all of you, the Customs, every one of you, I recognize you specially. Thank you for coming, for joining us. All APC chieftains, I greet you, all of you that are here in your large numbers. I recognize every one of you. The trade union members, NURTW, Retian, all of you, you are all recognized wherever you are seated. The organized labor leaders, let me use Comrade Victor Amoko as a point of contact to all the labor leaders that are here.
all the head of local government administration that are here, those from that third tier of government, I recognize you. Using the chairman of Nonge also as a point of contact to all of you. Thank you so much. You came your large number, and I could see when you are applauding your mouthpiece when he spoke in your favor. I clap for you too. Members of the fourth estate of the realm, the press, I recognize all of you. All our students in the house, I greet all of you. Great Nigeria students! Thank you for coming. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is yet another June 12 celebration. 31 years after the highly celebrated presidential election held on 12th of June 1993, won by the late Chief MKO Abiola, GCFR, and generally acclaimed as the freest and fairest in Nigeria electoral history. I am greatly delighted to welcome once again the chairman of this event, the person of Professor Aderohunmu, a renowned scholar, educationist, and a politician. Thank you for honoring our invitation to chair this occasion. Let me also specially welcome to this gathering our guest speaker for today, the National Secretary of the largest party in Africa, the All Progressive Congress, Senator Alhaji Surajudeen Ajibola Bashiru, SRJ, a courageous, eloquent, sagacious, and meticulous politician. And he has demonstrated that today by doing justice to that topic. It was an explosive session for those of you who care to listen to him. It's a topical issue that he was able to take us through, touching all the arms of government and sectors in the political arrangement. I appreciate you for honoring our invitation, even at a very short notice, and for being ready to give us the opportunity to tap from your wealth of democratic experience, such that you have demonstrated today. Even gave us a handout as a doctorate, a lecturer, as it were. He gave every one of us a handout to go with, and I'm sure there are a lot to learn from that lecture. He has done justice to that. I'm not the lecturer, I don't need to go into all of that. He put a caveat at the beginning of that lecture that he was speaking for himself and not for the government of APC and not as secretary of our party. So that all that he expressed are his personal knowledge and opinion as a scholar who also bagged a doctorate degree in law, and also as a politician, a student of history. So today is a day of celebration and solemn reflection. A day for us to reminiscence on our democratic journey so far, which he has taken us through really. What have been our experiences? What are the challenges and the way forward? All of these he touched in the course of the lecture. It is the anniversary of the most cherished day when Nigerians went out en masse to exercise their franchise for their choice leader, a desire for democratic governance. We therefore give thanks to all the people of Nigeria who sacrificed so much to build and bequeath to us this wonderful day. It is our duty to consolidate this great legacy. It is therefore with deep sense of history that I join all lovers of democracy to celebrate the year 2024 June 12 Democracy Day in memory of our national heroes and heroines, patriotic martyrs, and emblematic figures of the democratic rule who were at the forefront and audaciously fought hard to give a resounding voice to the irrepressible clamor and undying democratic yearnings of Nigerians. Undoubtedly, June 12, which represents a landmark revolution in our political history, provides ample opportunity for us as a people to properly acknowledge, accentuate, and appreciate the invaluable sacrifices of the heroes past, martyrs, and strident advocates of the democratic struggle that culminated in the current democratic gains. The June 12 phenomenon is indeed a watershed in the socio-political history of Nigeria in our quest for democratic governance, civil liberty, and nationhood. The date has been set apart for the celebration of the true heroes and martyrs of the democratic struggles and to further advance the frontiers of good governance. The significance of the date to the growth of our democratic socio-political values cannot be overemphasized, as it provides ample opportunity for us as a country to review the democratic journey, note the progress thus far, and protect the sanctity of the hard-earned democratic gains, just as the guest lecturer took us through the journey, the challenges, and also provide some solutions for the way forward. Kabiyesi's, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, no doubt the level of our political development in the last 25 years of stable democracy in this Fourth Republic, we can conveniently state that the sacrifices of the patriotic heroes and unyielding martyrs of the June 12 struggles, who challenged the criminal injustice, defied the tyranny and brutality of power by the then military dictatorship in defense of the invaluable ideals of democracy, have not been in vain, as now democracy has become the defining essence of our political engagement, and culture. This was expanded on page 7 of your handout to 9 by the guest lecturer. The attendant priceless values and undeniable pillars of freedom, inalienable rights, socio-economic justice, fairness and equity, respect for rule of law are globally guaranteed by democratic best practices, are gradually taking roots and properly being entrenched in our political consciousness and national space with fresh breath of visible socio-economic development. Today, we can say without equivocation that democracy is well and alive in Nigeria since 1999. We have 25 years of uninterrupted democratic regime. If you want to clap, clap well for Nigerians, clap well for the politicians, and clap for the military too, because they have decided to stay back in their barracks. Despite the challenges, democratic form of government is still adjudged to be the best. And that is the reason why it has come to define the essence of our democratic engagement and culture. Let me at this juncture reassure the good people of Ondo State, as part of our social contract, that our administration is irrevocably focused and committed to prioritizing the socio-economic welfare, security of life and property, and engendering enduring wealth creation in the state as catalyst for statewide prosperity. Through a purpose-driven leadership, we shall remain committed, focus-driven in growing and advancing the frontiers of this state's economy to ensure a permanent end to poverty and lack in our state. Our transformational strategies and prescriptions shall continue to sit well with the socio-economic realities of our time, as we should strive hard to ensure that you enjoy the dividends of good governance and assuage the pain of the current economic challenges. Because of our irrevocable conviction on safety and security, we shall continue to raise the bar of good governance by frontally addressing the security challenges in our state, as this is the primary purpose of government, through deliberate policy designed to strengthen our own homegrown Amotekun Corps and in collaboration with other security agencies in order to guarantee the safety of life and property in the state. In line with global best practices, we shall continue to inspire and sustain the template of passionate leadership, pristine credibility, and good governance for the good people of the state through massive infrastructural development and re-engineering, not only for today, but for the future through provision of impactful, transformational, and enduring developmental policies. We shall explore all potentially impactful avenues for socio-economic prosperity for the good people of Ondo State. Our plans to develop the deep sea port and start exploring our large deposits of bitumen is very much on course. We are very much open to offering incentives to attract local and foreign investment into the economy of Ondo State. We shall not shy away from tapping into latent treasures in tourism, agriculture, formulate evidence-based policies and multi-stakeholders policy review for actionable solutions for economic growth and social welfare of the good people of our state. I therefore seek your continued support and understanding for our programs and policies, having in mind that we can accomplish much more in our togetherness, all in the best interest of our dear state. I appeal to you, my dear people of Ondo State, not to be bothered or disillusioned by any political theatrics, economic challenges, and power dynamics. I assure you that this phase of our current challenges in our national life will also pass, because we will continue to evolve as a nation and as a state for better. There are incontrovertible evidence that the state is currently experiencing a new trajectory and narratives in socio-economic transformational programs, including massive statewide infrastructural reengineering, strategic human capital development through systematic filling of existing vacancies in the public service, the significant intervention in public health to bridge the frightening skill gap in the health sector, social welfare packages for our workers, midwifing positive changes in all sectors of the state economy through judicious appropriation of state resources in the most resourceful and efficient manner, and thereby engendering unprecedented facelift, wealth creation, psychological well-being, and prosperity across the state. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, Democracy Day celebration in those states is deemed special in the sense that it provides a handy forum for the state to inexorably gravitate towards the exercise of our franchise in the upcoming gubernatorial election of 16th of November 2024. As stakeholders in the forthcoming election, we all are expected to prepare consciously to conduct ourselves with utmost decorum while casting our votes appropriately in a wise and progressive way. Having been in the saddle as governor of Ondo State for upwards of about 6 months, following the unfortunate demise of my worthy principal and predecessor, the late governor, Arákùnrin Olúwarótìmí Ọdúnayọ̀ Akérédolú SAN-CON. My deputy and I are fully aware that we are socially obliged and destined to pragmatically demonstrate unconditional concern for the welfare of the people we govern. As your governor, I'm propelled and fired by a dynamic zeal for impactful service delivery, and I am posed to sacrificially do everything compatible with honor and dignity at ensuring that Ondo State grows and moves forward, manifest in better living standards for our people. May I end this address by thanking our faithful party members, top government functionaries, traditional rulers, religious leaders, students, NGOs, security agents, and the good people of Ondo State for synergizing with us in ensuring the success of this year's Democracy Day celebration. It is my belief that with our continued cooperation and determination, we shall surmount our socio-economic challenges, which tend to submerge our inherent greatness, especially when we take note and do some of these solutions for way forward that were proffered by our guest lecturer. Thank you all. God bless Ondo State, and God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Ọ̀nà lọ́rọ̀ ọba tí rẹ̀ yẹ, èjú bá jà ọ́. Ọ̀nà lọ́rọ̀ ọba tí ṣe tí.
Thank you.
Èjú bá jà ọ́.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. By the mercy of God Almighty, you will lead us in Ondo State to celebrate more democracy days in years ahead in Jesus' name. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this point for the vote of thanks, I want to invite the Administrative Secretary in the office of the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Omotayo Akeju, to give the vote of thanks.
Okay.
Your Excellency, Honorable Lucky Orimisan Aiyedatiwa, the amiable Governor of Ondo State, Your Excellency, Dr. Olaide Owolabi Adelami, MNI, Deputy Governor of Ondo State. I humbly adopt the so well-established protocol as we have come to the high point of this glorious occasion of the 25th anniversary of year 2024 Democracy Day. My name is Omotayo Akeju, the Admin Secretary, Political and Economic Affairs Department, Governor's Office. We return all glory to God Almighty for the success of today's event. Without Him, this would not have been possible. We are grateful to Him for His gracious and immeasurable benevolence and for seeing us through the planning stages up to this glorious end. James Allen, the author of that famous self-help book titled As a Man Thinketh, said in his book, "No duty is more urgent than giving thanks." I also wish to add that when the heart is filled with gratitude, words are very few. It's a great thing to have come to the climax of year 2024 June 12th celebration, which Mr. Governor referred to as a journey down the memory lane of an event that remains a watershed in our socio-political history. Mr. Governor recalled that June 12th is celebrated in sweet memory of our national heroes, heroines, patriotic matters of the democratic rule and participatory governance. who were at the forefront of the irrepressible clamor, resolute agitation, and undying democratic yearning of Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. Governor, for this insightful reminder and counsel that the hard-earned democratic gains must be well preserved and protected. With profound gratitude, we thank Your Excellency, Mr. Governor, for your gracious and timely approval of fund for the event and your relentless support all through the planning processes to ensure its success. We are most grateful to you, sir. It's a prayer that this time next year, sir, you will again, as the governor of Ondo State, be alive in good health and divine strength to celebrate yet another June 12th anniversary. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Your support means so much to us that you may know or can never imagine, sir. And we may not be able to express our gratitude enough. All we can say is that we are most grateful to you, sir. The chairman of this historic occasion, Professor Aderohunmu, an erudite scholar of no mean repute and specialist in educational management, a receiver of several national and international awards. Thank you, sir, for accepting to chairman this occasion and moderating the program to a very successful end. We are immensely grateful to you, sir, for coming. Thank you very much. Our esteemed and highly esteemed guest speaker, distinguished Senator Surajudeen Ajibola Bashiru, an iconic politician. Thank you, sir, for the well-researched paper, powerful oratory, and excellent delivery. Without any doubt, you did justice to the theme for this year's celebration. I am very sure you thrilled the audience with your insightful perspective to the theme. Thank you for reminding us of the essence of the date and the need to protect its sacredness and sanctity. This is a profound takeaway from the lecture. Thank you for coming and accepting the task of being the guest speaker. We are grateful to you, sir. We are profoundly grateful to our revered royal fathers for the honor of your esteemed royal presence at this occasion. Your graceful presence is a confirmation of your support for democratic engagement and the administration of our amiable governor and his programs. Kábíyèsí, Kádépẹ́ Kibata Pélésẹ̀, Kirukere Pọ̀láàfin. Long may you reign peacefully in your various kingdoms. To our religious leaders, we appreciate you for your prayers and spiritual support for the state and Mr. Governor in particular. May you never lose your reward as you labor in the vineyard. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion with your invaluable presence. Our appreciation also goes to all the political gladiators for adding color and glamour to the event of today with your presence. I must thank my boss, the SSG, Honorable Temitayo Olunchaye Oluwatuyi, for guiding us through the planning processes and ensuring that we achieve success. We are grateful to you, sir. To everyone that honored us with your esteemed presence, including the press, we say thank you for coming and God bless you as you go back home. Thank you all for celebrating this occasion with us. We wish you safe trip back to your various desired destinations in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. God bless all.
Thank you too, Mr. Akeju. You have done a good job. Your Excellency, at this point, we'll be running off with the celebration, and in our respective homes, the celebration of Democracy Day will continue. But for the lecture, we are putting it on hold at this point as we all rise now to have the closing prayer and the anthems.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا عليك توكلنا وإليك أنبنا وإليك المصير ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
Photograph with His Excellency. The people at the high table will come down. The heads of security agencies will. Now, okay, be in the photograph. Oh, now. Heads of security agencies will join Mr. Governor for the photograph. Members of the State Executive Council will join. House of Assembly members will join. Religious bodies. Okay, religious bodies, chairman of Khan, Babaya Yakorede. Okay. And also the representative of the Archbishop of Venerable Matayo, please join in the